Undoubtedly, the best-known creature from Greek mythology is Medusa, the winged woman with venomous snakes instead of hair. She was one of 3 Gorgons, but unlike her siblings that also included Echidna, Medusa wasn't born a monster. Originally, she was a stunning and beautiful mortal, but because of a love affair she had with Poseidon, she was cursed by Athena and turned into the most hideous monster of all. Looking into her eyes would turn anyone into stone, but with the help of Athena and Hermes, Perseus was able to defeat her. She was decapitated, and from her neck sprang her 2 children from Poseidon, Chrysaor and Pegasus. Her head was taken back home with Perseus, but it was said that on his way a drop of her blood fell to the ground and sprouted snakes, which is why to this day the country of Libya is full of them. Number 2. Typhon. Now it's time to meet the parents. Typhon was the father of all monsters along with his wife Echidna. As you can imagine, for someone who spawned the likes of Cerberus, the Hydra, and the Chimera, he was a mighty beast in his own right. He was a giant serpent with 100 dragon heads. He battled with Zeus, and his loss is what led to Zeus finally becoming the king of all the gods. Immensely powerful and with so many heads that emitted fire and ghastly sounds, the battle between the two was cataclysmic, but in the end, he was punished by the victor. Typhon was banished to the underworld in some accounts, or to beneath a volcano like Mount Etna in others. Number 3. Chimera. The Chimera was another offspring of Echidna and Typhon and sibling to Cerberus and the Hydra. It had the body and head of a lion, a head of a goat that was attached to its back, and a tail that was the head of a snake. It was said to live in Lycia in Asia Minor, where it tormented residents and laid waste to the region with its fire breath. Eventually, it was felled at the request of King Iobates of Lycia, who enlisted the help of Bellerophon. He flew on Pegasus's back and fired arrows at the Chimera from above until it could take no more. Number 4. Charybdis and Scylla. In the Odyssey, Odysseus had to sail his ship through the narrow Strait of Messina, but it wasn't just treacherous rocks he had to watch out for because each side was guarded by dangerous monsters. Charybdis and Scylla. Charybdis is thought to have been the personification of a whirlpool which occurs in the strait and was said to have lived under a rock, emerging to swallow huge amounts of water and then belching it out again to form a maelstrom that could drag a ship underwater. Because of this threat, Odysseus navigated to the other side of the strait and right into the clutches of an arguably even greater danger. Scylla was a female monster that had 12 feet and 6 heads on long, windy necks. Each mouth had rows and rows of shark-like teeth, and her loins were rimmed with the heads of rabid dogs. She had such long necks that she remained in her cave and would eat anything within her reach, including 6 of Odysseus's crewmates. It's thought that Scylla was created to represent a series of rock or a reef, and both of these monsters portray dangers that early Greek sailors would have faced in the unknowns of the ocean. Number 5. The Cyclops. While most creatures from Greek mythology were invented to represent a specific meaning or purpose, recent discoveries have suggested that the ancient Greeks truly believed Cyclops to be real. They were one-eyed giants who feature in a number of myths that were probably inspired by the remains of an ancient species of elephant that used to live in Greece and Crete. The skull bones of these creatures have a large central opening where the trunk would have attached, and ancient Greeks mistakenly thought that these were recesses for an eye socket. According to Homer, they were cannibals and lived in Sicily, what was then a far distant land. Number 6. Centaurs. Centaurs were, according to Greek mythology, half-human, half-horse creatures that were the children of Ixion, the king of Lapiths, and Nephele, a cloud that had been made in the form of the goddess Hera. They had the body of a horse and the torso, head, and arms of a man. In the legends, most centaurs were wild and lustful beings, solely concerned with what was best for themselves. Number 7. The Hydra. The Lernaean Hydra lived in Lake Lerna in the region of Argolid and was the offspring of the mother and father of all monsters, Echidna and Typhon, so the sibling of Cerberus. It was a serpent-like beast with many heads, and it was said that if you cut off one of its heads, 2 more would grow back in its place. The head in the middle was immortal, and all of them could spit deadly acid. Its blood was deathly poisonous, and its teeth were believed to be able to raise the dead. The monster was specifically raised by the goddess Hera to kill Hercules, who was sent to kill it as his second trial. He had to cover his face to protect himself from the noxious gases that the creature produced, and learned the hard way that severing a head resulted in 2 more growing from the stump. Finally, he hatched a plan where his cousin Iolaus would immediately burn each stump as soon as the head had been removed, which prevented anything from growing back. Hercules used a special golden sword to kill the immortal head, and the Hydra lay lifeless. He dipped all his arrows in the monster's blood and set off to continue his quest. Number 8. The Minotaur. The Minotaur is one of the most famous creatures from Greek mythology, having the body of a man but the head and tail of a bull. It was the offspring of Queen Pasiphae of Crete and a bull, and was truly monstrous. King Minos wanted to keep the Minotaur hidden, mainly because its sheer existence was a punishment handed out to him by the gods. So he ordered his most trusted craftsman Daedalus and his son Icarus to build a large labyrinth to keep it in. Every year, offerings of young men and women were sent into the maze for the Minotaur to feed on. Following a battle between Crete and Athens, which resulted in King Minos' only human son being killed, the city-state was forced to provide 14 tributes every year for the Minotaur. On the third time this happened, the son of Athens' king, Theseus, volunteered to go in order to slay the beast once and for all, and was able to do so with the help of King Minos' daughter, who had fallen in love with him and gave him a ball of thread to find his way home. Number 9. Cerberus. Cerberus was the personification of everything the Greeks feared in wild dogs, and was the creature responsible for guarding the gates of the underworld. It had 3 heads, although earlier accounts said it had as many as 100 heads, and would prevent the dead from escaping back into the real world, as well as stopping living people from making their way across the river Styx into the underworld without the permission of Hades. Often described as having a snake for a tail and other snakes protruding from its body, Cerberus was the offspring of 2 other monsters, Echidna and Typhon. Number 10. Harpies. The Harpies were the minions of Zeus, and as the spirits of sudden sharp gusts of wind, were sent by him to take things away from the earth. They were blamed by the Greeks when people mysteriously disappeared, and in various myths they were sent by Zeus to seek revenge against those who had disobeyed him. Thanks for watching. Bye!